Hello, good morning. Welcome to another edition of Oikodomeo Today, the 18th day of February 2021. My name is David Imogi, and we'll be looking at a different kind of life brought to us by Pastor Ayo Ajani. Our reading for today is taken from Colossians chapter 3, verse 1 and 2. Colossians 3, 1 and 2. And it says, Christ's resurrection is your resurrection too. This is why we are to yearn for all that is above, for that's where Christ sits enthroned at the place of all power, honor, and authority. Yes, feast on all the treasures of the heavenly realm and fill your thoughts with heavenly realities and not with the distractions of the natural realm. Jesus wasn't the first to be raised from the dead. Right from the Old Testament, there were records of folks who came back to life from the dead. Even in Jesus' ministry, he raised several from the dead. But Jesus' body wasn't simply resuscitated and restored to life as in the case of everyone else. They all lived on to die again at a later time. The resurrection from the dead of Jesus was a definite act and power of God. He was raised out of spiritual death, which is a union and oneness with the nature of Satan, into a new life that cannot die again. This life is the very life of God, indestructible and incorruptible. The bigger part is that we partook of his death, burial, and resurrection. The believer is identified with Jesus in the work of God. And so, the very same life that sustains the Christian today is the life at work in the believer. It's resurrection life. Paul declares to the Colossians and to us today that Christ's resurrection is our resurrection too. We have the same claim to resurrection that Jesus has. We have the same claim to the blessings of the resurrection that Jesus has. There is no difference. Resurrection life belongs to us now, not later, not in the sweet by and by. Paul, in his letter to the Romans, described it as the newness of life. Know ye not that so many of us, as were baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in the newness of life. Romans 6, 3-4. Romans 6, 3-4. Know this, we have received of God a new life that's not subject to the element of this world. It's a life that is beyond limitations. You ask me, how do we unlock the potentials of this life? I'll tell you. By feasting on the treasures and realities of this new life. Fix your gaze above. Stop judging your life by the news. Alright? Kindly join me with this confession. Thank you, dear Father, for I am the born of the indestructible and incorruptible life of God. I live beyond the limiting influences of this world as I walk in the consciousness of the resurrection life that Christ has brought to me today and always.